Okay, so welcome everyone to our webinar today called Explore Words Languages, specifically about UK study and internship. So if you couldn't make it to yesterday's webinar, I'm just going to be giving you guys a little brief on Tralecs and the services we offer, what it is, etc. So Tralecs Education is a Bahraini school specialized in languages, teaching, translating, cultural exchange, as well as trips abroad. We were here from 2011, serving students worldwide. And so anyone who is interested in learning a new language or joining a language course to open up their horizons as well as their opportunities, please follow Tralecs. Whether in Bahrain, Spain, France, Germany, Switzerland, or the UK. In addition, you can also have a choice to travel to these countries and live there, starting from a week to 6 months. And you can register in schools through Tralecs for those countries as well. Even though those courses can be taught here in Bahrain and you can join those courses in Bahrain, the advantages of studying abroad are endless because you can use the languages that you're trying to learn on a day-to-day basis, whether in supermarkets, malls, streets, etc., etc. So moving on to our topic for today, specifically on UK study and internships, I would like to welcome Ms. Daniela to our webinar as our speaker, and Ms. Daniela is an academic director and a professor in MDA College. So, Ms. Daniela.
Hello, Fatima. Thank you very much for having me today.
Welcome. It's an honor. So, would you please talk to us about yourself as well as the college, please?
Yes, of course. So MDA College is based in Leeds in the UK, and we have been teaching there since 2006. And the college is based on the principles of giving students a personalised and specialist education within the UK. So we do lots of specialised programs with a focus on small classes and highly experienced teachers. I have been there since 2015, and in the last few years we have grown the college a lot to expand to new courses, and we've been working with Tralecs since about 2016.
Okay, that's great. I have here a list of topics that we would like to go over, if you don't mind.
No, of course.
So the first thing I have on my list here is about the English teachers training program. Can you touch on that a little bit, please?
Yes, of course. So for teachers who want to teach English internationally, there are a couple of different options, and really it depends on where you want to teach. If you want to teach in a private language centre, then a lot of the times colleges like ours will ask for something called a CELTA qualification. And this is usually taught at a Cambridge centre and can be done internationally. I know there are places that you can do it as well in Bahrain if you don't want to travel, but you could go really anywhere and do the same course. At MDA College, we do more bespoke training programs for teachers who are looking to improve their ability and to improve their knowledge. So we have specialist courses on improving English language as a teacher. And this is something that's really important, because if you are not confident in your own ability to use English, then that will affect your ability to teach in the classroom. We also offer specialist courses on teaching teenagers and teaching young learners, because often, especially at university, the focus can be more on adults, or it can be a little more idealized. If you don't have classroom experience, then suddenly looking at a class of teenagers can be quite a scary experience, as I'm sure everybody knows. In addition, we can do lots of developmental programs. So where teachers who maybe are looking for a job but haven't had any experience can do training courses with us, either at a distance or in person. And we do lots of projects with schools like this. So we will go to a school, we will assess the teaching that's going on in the school, and then we will develop a program based on where we think they could improve their teaching standards in English language. Really, what you need to do if you are a recent graduate and you are looking for teaching experience, I mean, this will depend on your particular circumstances, but the best thing I would say is start teaching. Until you have some students, until you have some classroom experience, it's difficult to move forward. You can't get better at something you've never done before. So I would recommend that you potentially look at the internships, which we will look at later, which are an option, or you can have a look at a variety of different teaching options, whether that's being a teaching assistant, maybe in a private language school if you want to do English specifically, or in a state school if that's a possibility for you, and see what your options are there. The MDA College offers a range of different specialised courses that you can take either in a group or as an individual to make you feel more confident when you do get into the classroom.
Okay, that's great. And how about the courses? How long are they? Around how long are the courses?
Each course is bespoke, so it really depends on the time scale that the teacher has. If it's one teacher just wanting to improve their English language skills, then it might be that the course is a year long, with them meeting one-to-one online with one of our teachers, just to improve their understanding of grammar or vocabulary or idioms in English. And that might happen for a year, for example, until the teacher feels confident enough to take another exam or confident enough to progress on their own. If it's more of a group program, more developmental, then it will depend on the kind of assessment that they have. Do they want to take a certificate at the end? Do they want to do a teaching degree, for example? One option that we have with our online courses is that we offer the online Cambridge and Trinity University teaching certificates, which are little bite-sized courses that we integrate in. So this means that you get our certificate and the one from Cambridge, and these are a good option if teachers are very short on time, and this can mean that the courses go on longer. So it's flexible, it depends on what the teacher wants to do.
Okay, and in your opinion, what do you think, or what would job seekers and graduates benefit from learning at your school for their career paths?
Really, I think that, especially in the modern job market, to prove your English language ability, which is what we can primarily help with, you need to do some kind of certificate. A lot of people mistakenly think that the only English exam that is out there is IELTS, and that's not true. And IELTS is not a very fun exam. It's one of those exams that can be quite difficult, and IELTS does not always test your language ability, it tests your ability to do an IELTS exam. So we find often that students can get very high scores in IELTS, but actually their ability in English is quite low, or they can have a very low IELTS score, but their English ability is quite good. My favorite story to tell with IELTS always is that I am a native speaker, and the first time I took an IELTS test, I got a 4. And it's simply because I didn't understand how to do the test properly. We'll come back to this when we talk about IELTS later on, because this is why it's important to prepare with a proper teacher and not just buy a book yourself and try to do it at home. But you have options such as the Cambridge exams, the Trinity exams. There's also language cert exams, which we do a lot of and we think are really good exams. They're very cost effective, they're based on general English, and they give a very good view of what you can do in daily life. So that's what I really think is the biggest thing that we can offer to somebody who maybe doesn't know where they want to go yet, if they are a graduate, or if they are a job seeker who is flexible to where they might work. Take an English exam and use this to prove how good you are, and use the certificate as part of your job search.
Okay, thank you for your answer. It was very beneficial. And another question, will the certified teacher from your end need to go through an exam every period of time to renew the certificate just to be up to date, or?
So the way that we run it, we don't require teachers to take exams because we do teacher training with all of our staff every single week. So we are British Council accredited and part of the English UK network of language schools and colleges. And basically what this means is we are inspected every 2 to 3 years, where somebody comes in and looks at how we are doing and makes sure we are keeping a very high standard. Part of this accreditation means that every single week, all of our teachers take part in a training session. We do this instead of doing exams because this is a much better view of what the teacher is like on a daily basis. An exam only tells you what that teacher is like on paper. What we do and what we much prefer to do is that every semester, I myself as the academic director go into the classroom, I watch the teachers teach, I see how they are planning, I see how they are interacting with students, and we develop teachers that way. And that's the system that's more commonly used in the UK, even at the state school system. It's more based on training and how the teacher performs in the classroom than the particular certifications. And this is why at the beginning I said it's important, if you want to be a teacher, to start teaching. Even if the teaching that you can do is to have a few private students that you visit once or twice a week and teach them in their homes, in the shopping malls, whatever. That is teaching, and that will give you experience for when you have a classroom of students in front of you. And that's what I believe in as well. The best experience is teaching itself.
All right, thank you, Ms. Daniela. And now moving on to our next topic, which is the IELTS preparation.
Yeah.
Can you please touch up on that as well?
Of course. So I spoke about IELTS preparation a little bit earlier. And as I said, IELTS is a very picky exam. It has a very clear answer structure, which means that by the time you sit down to take it, the examiner already knows what the answer should look like, whether that is in the listening and reading, where of course you've only got short answers, but also in the speaking and writing. Often we find that students will get very high scores in the listening and the reading when they are responding. But then when it comes to the listening, when it comes to the speaking and the writing, they get lower marks because they don't really pay attention to the question. And for both of those parts, nearly 25% of your mark comes from, do you answer the question? So when you are preparing for IELTS, it is important to find somebody who understands what they are talking about to do an IELTS exam. This does not mean that just because your cousin took an IELTS and got a 6 5 years ago, that he can train you to do an IELTS exam. Not only because the exams change every once in a while, so if he took it 5 years ago, then he probably will have not seen the changes that have come in recent papers. But also, there are lots of different answer types that you are expected to know when you are answering IELTS questions, and an experienced and professional teacher will take you through these different examples. What we do at MDA College is we have specific teachers who are IELTS specialists. They, of course, can teach on the general English, and they can teach on our other courses as well, but their job is primarily to be 100% up to date with the IELTS changes and to teach students how to succeed in that paper. It's also one reason why we separate IELTS preparation from general English. If you want to do something, for example, like a Cambridge exam or a language cert exam, you can stay in a general English class to prepare for that. Maybe do an hour or 2 per week of extra classes to prepare. But there's not much you really need in terms of specialist preparation for those exams. Once you have the general language, you can succeed at that test, and it's not the same for IELTS. So I really recommend that anybody looking to do an IELTS exam contacts a professional trainer with specialized teachers. What happens a lot is that they will take a regular English teacher and they will put them in front of an IELTS class and give them an IELTS book. That is not IELTS teaching. You need an understanding of how the different answers work, what different techniques students need to use, as well as what language they need in order to perform well in the test. And this is what we at MDA College specialize in. And it's one of the reasons that we are a specialized IELTS preparation center. So this is something I would really recommend that anybody planning to take an IELTS looks for when they are preparing.
All right. Earlier, you mentioned that people usually think that it's only the IELTS exam. Are there any other exams as well to test the English language?
Yes, of course, there are lots of different exams on the market nowadays. And even within IELTS, there are 2 different routes that you can take. So pretty much everybody, when they take an IELTS, takes an academic IELTS. So this is the IELTS that you need for university. You can use for pretty much anything, really. There's also a general training of IELTS, which is a totally different test. If you train for an academic IELTS and then take the general test, you know, your reading and your speaking may be similar, but the other papers will be completely different. So please make sure you are clear as to which IELTS you are preparing for before you start. We at MDA College only do the academic preparation because this is the one that can be used for everything, whereas general can only be used for things like visa applications. So be sure you understand which test you are taking before you start preparing. There's also the Cambridge exams, and these are very popular, especially in Europe. They're starting to gain popularity in the Middle East. And they're more general English style exams. So they're a good option if you have tried IELTS and it didn't sit very well with you. Maybe you found the essays a little difficult. They're a bit more general English. The writing tasks are more based on letters and articles and more daily life tasks. There's also the Trinity exams. And these are the ones that are primarily used in the UK for example, the citizenship test and things like that. And these are what you do primarily in the UK if you want to come and live here. So you have the GESE exams, and these are only speaking and listening exams. And then you have the ISE, which are used for university entrance. And these are very popular in countries like Spain and Italy as well. The last category, which is a new type of exam and one that we at MDA College are really big fans of is the language cert exams. Now these are CELT exams, so S-E-L-T, which basically means that they also can be used for university applications and for applications for visas. Compared to the other types of tests I've just mentioned, they are all based on general English that is used in daily life. And therefore, they aren't easier exams because they test the same kinds of language, but the tasks are more familiar. It's based on listening to conversations, on responding to a conversation, on writing a letter to a friend, on commenting on something that you have read, on finding information. And as a result, we have seen a really good result with these tests. And actually in the college, we're proud to say that we have a 100% pass rate in these exams at all levels, simply because students feel much more comfortable with them and they don't get the kind of panic which we often find with IELTS. So if you are looking at university in the UK, especially if you've graduated from university in Bahrain, you want to come do a master's degree or a PhD, for example, in the UK, look at your other exam options. Very often, you know, we have students say, well, I hate IELTS, so I don't want to come to the UK to study. And it's not your only option. So feel free to look around, join a general English class and speak to your teacher about which tests would suit you best. Because just like anything else, there's always options out there for you.
All right. And Ms. Daniela, what would you advise someone who takes the IELTS yet fails or doesn't get a good score for like several times? What would you advise them to do?
This is exactly what I mean. We had a couple of students last year who we could see in everything that they were doing in class that their level was going up. They moved from a B2 class to a C1 class. These students were very, very fluent in English, but because they would panic every single time they would enter an IELTS exam, they would make mistakes and they would come out and say, oh, I didn't manage to finish my essay, or I forgot the question while I was speaking, or I lost concentration during the listening, and they would never get the result that really reflected what they could do in English. And this is why I say, look at other test options. The definition of madness is to do the same thing over and over again, expecting the same result. So don't just do an IELTS exam every single week and expect that at some point you will get that magic 6 or 6.5 that you need. There are other options out there. Even if all you do is go onto the Cambridge or the Language Cert or the Trinity website, all of them have free tests that you can download. You can download one of their tests, try it. If you like it, then you can change. This is why we offer all of these options at MDA College. You know, you can change onto a different exam. The training you've done for IELTS won't be useless. It will still help you with these other exams, but it may be that it just suits you better. We found that people, for example, who are a little bit more mathematical really struggle with the speaking parts and the essay part of the IELTS, but don't have the same problems with the language cert exams. There are all these other options out there, so keep looking. Don't just feel that IELTS is your only option. It's also one of the more expensive options. A language cert test compared to an IELTS exam in the UK, an IELTS exam will be about £200, whereas a language cert for the same level will be about £110. So it also may save you money to look at different test options.
All right, now I would like to move to summer camps. Can you please talk about summer camps options that you have as well?
Yes, of course. So MDA College runs a summer camp every year. So we run it from the end of June or beginning of July to the end of August. And we do our summer camp on a university campus. So it's very green, it's very safe. It's just outside of the city centre here in Leeds. And it's a great opportunity for students to come and study. They live on the university campus and they study there as well, and they have activities, and we take them to different cities around the UK as well. So it's a great opportunity for children between 12 and 17 to have a summer away, to make new friends, to improve their English, and to see some of the UK as well. Obviously, this year, with all of the restrictions, it wasn't possible for us to do our summer school this year. And we chose not to do an online option simply because the whole point of the summer school is to have students making friends and seeing other people from other cultures. And that's not really possible to do in the same way online. So next year, we have so far everything confirmed, and we are at the moment just waiting to see how the rest of 2020 pans out with the restrictions. So far in the UK, the restrictions are pretty level. So we've not had a second lockdown happen here yet. But we will continue to monitor the situation and see what is in the best interest of our students. But I'm quite confident in saying that it looks good for summer 2021.
All right, that's great. Now, aside from the restrictions that are happening right now due to the COVID situation, what are the challenges that someone may face for coming to the UK and to join?
The issues that we see with almost every student can always be brought down to their expectations. The UK is very different in many ways to Bahrain, and I was lucky enough to come to Bahrain and meet with the Tralecs staff last year, and it is a very different country to the UK. And often what we find is that students don't always understand how different it's going to be until they get here. So they understand that the UK, especially in winter, is much colder, but then when they arrive and they actually feel how cold it is, they haven't prepared for it properly. Or they understand that they will be away from their family for 6 months, but actually once they're here and they suddenly feel how long 6 months is, they panic a little bit. So I think one thing that's important is to plan out your study abroad and to understand that it won't all be fantastic every minute. There may be times when you are sad because you miss your mum, or you miss your best friends, or a small example, most of the shopping centres, especially in winter in the UK, close at about 8 p.m. And sometimes students, they're like, I just want to go get a coffee at 9 p.m. at night, and nowhere is open. And it's just because of the cultural differences here in the UK. It's a lot colder country, so things close earlier. People expect to go home earlier. So one of the things that you can do before you arrive is to speak to, a company like Tralecs, where, you'll have people there that can help you, that can explain the differences, explain things that they did to help. There's also a lot of information on our website about homesickness and tips for how you can get over this, and tips on just daily life. So things like, in the UK, if you want to see a doctor, you must be registered with a GP. If you aren't registered with a GP, you can't see a doctor. And this is something that students often don't find out until, they've got their first cold in the UK and they just want to see a doctor and they can't do so. So speak to us as well. part of our accreditation is that we have proven that we maintain good customer service. And at MDA College, we have my colleague Zara, who is in charge of all student welfare and administration. And her whole job is there to help you settle into the UK, to deal with any issues you might have. Sorry. And really just accept help when you need it and ask for it when you need it.
All right, thank you for your answer, Ms. Daniela. What about the face-to-face English courses and the virtual English courses as well?
So currently right now we have online classes running, and we were hoping to open our face-to-face classes from the middle of September, but with the travel restrictions, it's been very difficult for a lot of our students to get to the UK. So at the moment, we are taking applications for face-to-face classes and hoping to open those as soon as it's possible for students to travel into the UK. Really, I think that students should take advantage of the online option, because overall it does give good access to teachers you otherwise wouldn't have access to, and it's more cost effective because obviously you're not paying for accommodation, you're not paying for flights, you're not paying for visas, any of that. So I would encourage students to think of the possibility of online classes. I know that for some people, they're a bit worried about it. They don't know whether it's a good option. But especially as at MDA College, we are running all of our classes online just as if they were face-to-face. So it's with the same teachers, the same materials, the same standards. So you can find really great online classes out there.
All right, and what about the foundation programs in the UK?
Yes, so a foundation program is a university preparation year, and it's a level 3. It's very important that anybody looking to do a foundation year make sure it's a level 3 course, because if it's a level 2, it's too low and you will be required by the university to do a level 3. Really, our course is different because it is independent. The vast majority of foundation courses in the UK are linked to one, sometimes if you're very lucky, 2 universities. And if you don't get into one of those 2, you failed the course basically. Our foundation is linked to over 70 different UK universities, and we can offer guaranteed progression for students that pass, which is not something that a lot of other foundation courses can offer. We also offer the same high quality that's in our IELTS preparation and our general English classes, because we keep to the same standards of small classes with experienced teachers. So very often on a foundation, you will find 30, sometimes 40 students in a class. With us, the maximum is 15. So it means you get lots of attention from the teacher, lots of time to process your ideas, to speak to your classmates, and it's a lot more collaborative. We offer 3 basic routes. So we have the business route, which is for business, economics, accounting, finance, marketing, and other humanities courses. And this is £8,500 for the year. We then have routes 2 and route 3. Route 2 is for engineering, and it goes into all kinds of engineering, so mechanical, electrical, civil, all different types. And this one costs £9,000. Our last route is healthcare. This is not for medicine or for dentistry. If you are interested in medicine or dentistry in the UK, you need to go down the A-level route, and you need a minimum of an IELTS, I would say a minimum of an 8.5, because even though the courses say, you know, you need an 8, realistically, there are students applying with 9s. If you have anything below, if you have an 8, it's just not good enough, it's the minimum. You also need to make your application by the end of September of the year before. So if you want to do dentistry in 2021, you need to make your application by the 1st of October. Most of the medicine courses and the dentistry courses in the UK will have taken in all of their applications by the beginning of October. So be sure to look at this if that's the option that you want. Our healthcare route is more for nutrition, physiotherapy, nursing, midwifery. Sorry. It's not coronavirus, I'm just talking too much. And that also costs £9,000. For this next year, we are doing a blended course. So it will be online from the start in October until December, with then students coming to the UK in January to study until their exams in June. And then they'll take their exams in June, go home to Bahrain and with their university offer, and they will make their university visa application from Bahrain over the summer.
All right. Before moving on to internships in the UK, there's a question here stating that what about the Cert exam? Is it an alternative to IELTS? I didn't understand its uses. Is it as strong as IELTS and internationally known? Is it only a method of level like IELTS?
Which kind of exam, sorry?
Cert exam.
The language cert?
Yeah.
The language cert is equivalent to IELTS. If you want to apply to university in the UK, or if you want to come to live and work in the UK, then yes, language cert is equivalent to IELTS. If you are looking to do something like, for example, emigrate to Australia, where they require an IELTS as part of your visa application, then no, language cert isn't yet equivalent to IELTS in that, because they still prefer the IELTS. But in the UK, language cert is equivalent to IELTS, and it is as strong as IELTS as well. So yes, it is the equivalent.
All right. Now, we're moving on to internships in the UK. Can you please touch upon that?
Yes, of course. So an internship is basically unpaid work where you're getting experience in a company. And these are getting increasingly popular in the UK, and lots more businesses are taking part. If you are a Bahraini national, or if you are a non-EU national, so that, you know, would also include other Commonwealth countries like India, you will need to apply through a BUNAC visa. Now, the BUNAC visa costs are quite high, so make sure you look into this option carefully before you think about coming to the UK for an internship. And there are very strict rules about how you can work, where you can work, and how much you can work. So on a BUNAC visa, you need to usually come from a minimum of 6 months. There are certain exceptions for certain industries, but you need to work full time. So that's 25 hours and above, and you are absolutely not allowed to take on any paid work while you are in the UK. So look carefully into the costs before you think about doing this option. I would recommend that you give at least 1 year, and it has to be after you graduate, because you can only apply to a BUNAC visa in the year after you have graduated or while you are studying. So for example, if you've just graduated from university in May, you have until next May to apply for a BUNAC visa. And the earlier you do it, the better. If you are at 11 months and 20 days, Sometimes they reject the BUNAC visa because it's too close to that deadline of 12 months. So once you get the internship, it's a really useful way of learning what it's like to work in a different country. And I'd really recommend it for international business work. So if you want to, for example, work in a company that has bases in lots of different countries, then I think something like an internship could be really valuable. For other industries, it's maybe not as valuable. Often I get people saying, well, I want to work in a shop. On a BUNAC visa, realistically, to find companies that are in retail, that are aligned with the BUNAC needs, will be quite difficult. And I think, honestly, it's not going to be really worth the effort. So make sure that you are looking for a professional, skilled job before you apply for a BUNAC visa, and look carefully into the costs and requirements of it, because it's almost 4 times as expensive as a regular visa, and you're not allowed to take on any paid work during that time. So it is quite intensive.
All right, and I have a question here about rankings of universities.
Yes, of course.
What are the factors that are included or that helps a ranking of a university? And what do you recommend when a person wants to apply for university? Do they look at the ranking of it or the ranking of the program?
Look at the ranking of the program. The ranking of the university overall, in my opinion, is nearly useless, because you can have a university that is number 2 in the UK for a specific course, but very low in general. So for example, here in Leeds, we have Leeds Trinity University, which is the university we partner with for our summer program. They are in the top 5 universities in the UK for teacher training. They are one of the absolute best. And yet overall, they are maybe 200th or something. It's quite low overall because they are very specialized in only one particular subject. The rankings overall are made up of a lot of different things. And ultimately, as a lot of these things come down to, it comes to money. If a university can afford to pay researchers, they will get a higher research credit. But research doesn't make the teachers any better, and it doesn't make the university experience any better. So, the best universities in the UK generally accepted are Cambridge and Oxford. And honestly, in my opinion, I don't really think that they're worth much in terms of a degree. I had friends who studied at Oxford, and they said it was quite a miserable experience. They had to write essays every week. They had an exam every 4 weeks. They didn't enjoy the experience. Whereas other universities, like I went to Kent, which is still one of the top 10 universities in the UK, and I had a lot more discussion classes. I had a lot more free choice about what I studied, what modules I did, and I had a good university experience. And I think it's important to look at, what do you want from the university? You just pick the one that's most highly ranked overall. It could be very poorly ranked in your subject. So I recommend the Times university ranking system. That's the one we primarily use here in the UK. So when you go onto the website, you choose by the subject and look at what is the best rankings there. I also have to say that students pay a lot of attention to the ranking of universities, and I have yet to find many employers that do. I think for an employer, it is enough to see that you studied at a decent university than it is that you studied at the best university. I think that it's important to look at more than just the rankings when you're choosing.
All right, thank you again, Ms. Daniela. And lastly, what extra pieces of advice do you give the audience who are job seekers, students, graduates, or employees and entrepreneurs?
I think, especially when it comes to English, it's important to realize that taking language lessons and learning a language isn't an overnight thing. You cannot move from a basic level of language to fluency in 6 months unless you work really, really hard and you make an effort to always speak in English. We have some students that come into the college and they will come in at an elementary level, very basic, and within 8 months, they are in the B2 class, they are getting ready to take their IELTS or their Cambridge or their language cert exam. And that is because they make a really big effort to not speak their own language. You have to remember that language is all about practice. And no matter if you are studying 4 hours a day, that is still 20 hours in which you are doing things in Arabic or Gujarati or Hindi or Urdu or whatever your first language is. So make sure that you are realistic about what you can do in the time that you are going to study. That's one of the reasons that we recommend students come to the UK to study English, because it's a lot easier to speak a lot more English when you are surrounded by it. But you can do the same thing wherever you are. If you're taking online classes from Bahrain, just make sure that after you finish your class, you do extra homework, you watch a TV series in English with English subtitles, you are reading an English book, for example, and make an effort to do more than just your class. Your teacher and your class can only do so much. You need to do the rest.
All right. Thank you again, Ms. Daniela. If the audience has any questions, feel free to ask your questions in the chat or raise your hand to ask verbally. There's a question here, Ms. Daniela, asking regarding internships, how can we apply?
So if you want to apply for an internship, I would say the first step is to get in contact with an agency like Tralecs and speak to them about the options, or you can email us directly at info@mdacollege.com and we can help. First, I would say think about why you want to do the internship and how it will benefit you. As I said before, the BUNAC visa costs are quite high, so you need to make sure you have the money there behind you. They are about 6 months and you can't work during that time. And they're quite strict visa regulations. So ask yourself why you want to do an internship and then speak to somebody who can help you with more information.
All right. Are there any more questions for the audience to ask?
This is always the way when you ask a group of adults if anybody has any questions. They all turn back into 14-year-olds that don't want to talk to the teacher.
If there are If there are no more questions, I would like to thank you once again, Ms. Daniela, for your valuable information and for attending.
That's no problem at all. Thank you very much for having me. And I look forward to hearing from anybody that benefited from this conversation at a later date.
Of course, I'm very sure people really benefited out of it. And thank you all for attending. And thank you, Tralecs, once again for making this possible. Oh, there's one more question, and there is a question stating, if I want to study English, what is the first step to do?
The first step is, I think, to apply for a class. You can, of course, start doing things like, buy yourself a basic English book that you can practice with. But I really think you need somebody to practice with. So, like I said before, get in contact with an agency like Tralecs who can recommend the best classes that will suit your situation, whether or not you want full-time or part-time, or whether you want English for daily life or for university or for work, and go from there. A class really is invaluable for helping you, and a well-qualified teacher, when you are starting to learn a language, will avoid you having language problems later on because the mistakes you were making before have become habit. So get on board with a teacher, with a class, find somewhere to practice.
All right. So if there are any more questions, please contact us on WhatsApp, on mobile, on Instagram, or email. And once again, thank you all for attending, and thank you, Ms. Daniela, once more for attending and your information. And have a great day, everyone.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for everyone who has joined in today.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.